sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall. Won't stop till I get enough.
All right, buckle up everybody, because today we are diving headfirst into ancient Mesopotamia.
Yeah, we're talking about a topic that's really out there.
Oh, it's definitely out there, all right. We're going to try to answer the question, were the Mesopotamian gods, wait for it, actually aliens?
I know, right? Sounds a little crazy, huh?
Just a little. But hey, that's what we're here for, to dig into the really juicy stuff. We're taking our cues today from well, let's call it a unique YouTube video from the History Channel.
Oh yeah, this one's a doozy. It's actually called Biological Proof of Mesopotamian Alien Gods 3-Hour Marathon Ancient Aliens. Quite a title, huh?
Definitely grabs your attention, that's for sure. And look, we're not saying we believe everything in this video, but...
Right, we're approaching this with a healthy dose of skepticism.
Exactly. We're going to break down the claims, look at the evidence, or, the lack of evidence.
And let you, the listener, decide what to make of it all. But before we jump into all the alien stuff, we should probably, set the stage a bit.
Good point. Not everyone's a scholar of ancient Mesopotamia.
Right. So Mesopotamia, think of it like the OG civilization, the big bang of human culture, if you will.
Cradle of civilization, they call it.
Exactly. And nestled right between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, that's where it all went down. Modern-day Iraq, for those who are geographically inclined.
So we're talking, way, way back in time?
Oh, yeah, way back. And that's where we meet the Sumerians. These guys were seriously ahead of their time. We're talking they invented writing.
No way. Like the actual alphabet?
Well, not exactly the alphabet we use now, but their own system called cuneiform. And get this, they had laws, like a whole legal system, super advanced stuff.
Wow. I mean, you don't think about ancient civilizations having, organized law and order.
Oh, they were organized, all right. Even their agriculture was incredibly innovative. Seriously, we're still using some of their techniques today. They were geniuses.
I guess you don't get called the cradle of civilization for nothing. But how do we actually know all this stuff? I mean, it was so long ago.
That's where those cuneiform tablets come in. They're like our little window into their world.
Like ancient diaries or something.
Pretty much, except, etched in clay instead of scribbled in a notebook. And they tell us everything. Their beliefs, their daily life, even their myths. And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay, so we've got the setting, the Sumerians, their fancy clay tablets. Now bring on the aliens.
Not so fast. First, we got to introduce you to the stars of the show, the Anunnaki. These guys were the big cheese, the top dogs, the head honchos of the Sumerian pantheon.
So, they're gods.
Gods, powerful beings, call them what you want. But they were something else. The Sumerian texts describe them descending from the heavens, bringing with them knowledge and technology beyond anything that humans could imagine.
Okay, now we're talking. This is starting to sound like an alienization movie.
Well, hold on. It gets even weirder. These Anunnaki were said to live for hundreds of years. Hundreds. Try wrapping your head around that.
Hundreds of years. That's 10 times longer than the average human lifespan.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. Now, you could say that ancient cultures love to exaggerate the lifespan of their gods and kings to, make them seem more powerful.
Sure, that makes sense. But what about all that advanced knowledge and technology? Doesn't that sound a bit alien-y?
It definitely does. And the video we're exploring really leans into that. They take these long lifespans as a sign that the Anunnaki were, extraterrestrial.
I mean, they had to get those long lifespans from somewhere, right? And speaking of descriptions, the video doesn't hold back. They've got some pretty vivid depictions of these Anunnaki beings.
Oh yeah, they go all out. One quote even says they have faces like birds with beaks, but they are also very human-like giant beings with muscular bodies wearing thick things that look like wristwatches. Wristwatches, seriously.
Wristwatches. It's like they were checking the time while they were busy creating humans or something.
Right. That's the kind of detail that really gets people talking. But, we have to be careful about interpreting ancient art too literally.
So maybe the wristwatches are just a coincidence, or a misinterpretation of something else.
Could be. A lot of ancient art mixes human and animal features for symbolic reasons. Maybe the wristwatch thing is just a modern projection onto these ancient images. Who knows?
Okay, fair enough. But what about the whole descending from the heavens bit? That sounds pretty alienish to me.
I get it. It does sound a bit like aliens landing on Earth. But the thing is, this idea of sky gods isn't unique to the Sumerians.
Really? Other cultures had sky gods too?
Oh yeah, all over the place. Think about the Greek gods up on Mount Olympus, or the angels in the Bible coming down from heaven. It's a pretty universal theme.
Huh. So maybe the wristwatches were a stretch, but the sky god thing is a bit more convincing. And you know what else makes you think? The Sumerians had this whole creation myth, the Enuma Elish.
Oh, yeah, the Enuma Elish. That's a good one.
And it's got this part where the god Marduk creates humans from the blood of another god mixed with clay. Sound familiar?
Well, it does have some similarities to the biblical story of Adam being formed from dust.
Exactly. I mean, it makes you wonder if there's some connection there.
The similarities are definitely striking. Some people see this as evidence of shared cultural influences, like maybe these stories were passed down and adapted over time.
Right, like a game of ancient telephone.
Exactly. But of course, the ancient astronaut theorists, they've got a different take. They think these myths could be based on actual events, like the Anunnaki genetically engineering humans and all that.
Okay, so is that where this whole alien theory really kicks off? With these creation myths?
Well, that's where Zecharia Sitchin enters the picture. This guy, he was obsessed with Sumerian texts, spent decades studying them, and he came up with his own interpretation, let's just say, a bit controversial.
Controversial, huh? Lay it on me.
Okay, so Sitchin, he argued that the Anunnaki weren't gods at all. They were, wait for it, extraterrestrials from a planet called Nibiru. And they came to Earth for one reason, gold.
Gold? Really? I mean, come on. Wouldn't advanced aliens have better things to do than mine for gold?
That's one of the big criticisms of Sitchin's theory. It doesn't quite line up with what we know about, well, anything really. Physics, astronomy, the motivations of hypothetical super advanced aliens.
Right. If they were so advanced, you'd think they could just, snap their fingers and create gold. But, okay, let's go with it for a minute. Sitchin saying they needed workers to get this gold, so they created humans.
That's the gist of it. Genetically engineered us from, well, who knows what. It's a wild theory.
Wild is putting it mildly.
Yeah.
But got to give them points for creativity. Though I'm guessing not everyone buys into this, right?
Let's just say Sitchin's work is thought-provoking, intriguing even. But most mainstream scholars, they're not convinced. He takes a lot of liberties with his interpretations.
Fair enough. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, right? But let's keep going down this rabbit hole a bit. So the Sumerians, they had their own flood myth too, didn't they?
They did, very similar to the biblical story of Noah's Ark.
Wow, really? So both the Sumerians and the Bible have these stories of a massive flood wiping out humanity.
Yep. In the Sumerian version, it's the god Enlil who gets fed up with humans and decides to hit the reset button with a giant flood.
Huh, that's interesting. And we see flood myths popping up all over the world, don't we?
We do. It's a surprisingly common theme across many different cultures.
So is it just a coincidence that both the Sumerians and the Bible have these flood stories? Or could it be something more?
That's the question, isn't it? Are we looking at shared cultural influences or maybe some common human experience of facing catastrophic floods throughout history?
Right, like maybe these myths are our ancestors' way of explaining these huge world-altering events.
Precisely. And that brings us to another interesting connection, Mars. Now, according to Sitchin, Mars was like a layover for the Anunnaki on their way to Earth.
So they stopped off for some space snacks on Mars before heading down here.
Something like that. And this has led some folks to believe that we might actually find evidence of the Anunnaki on Mars.
Wait, are we talking alien ruins on Mars? Now that would be something.
Wouldn't it? Some people are really hoping that the Curiosity rover, the one that landed on Mars back in 2012, might stumble upon some signs of Anunnaki activity.
So far, no giant alien pyramids or anything,
Well,
right?
not yet, unfortunately. But hey, you never know. It's a big planet.
Okay, so maybe hold off on booking that trip to Mars for now.
Yeah.
But this whole Anunnaki thing, it's pretty mind-blowing, isn't it? I mean, we've got ancient texts, wild theories about alien gods creating humans, a possible Mars connection. What else could they throw at us?
Oh, you have no idea. Just wait till you hear what they say about Queen Pwabi's tomb.
Queen Pwabi. Okay, now you've got my attention. We'll have to save that for part 2 of our deep dive, though. Welcome back, everyone. Last time we left off with the Anunnaki, these powerful beings from Sumerian texts.
Yeah, we were just starting to scratch the surface of this whole ancient astronaut theory.
Right. We talked about how some people believe these Anunnakis were actually aliens, maybe even the ones who created us.
It's definitely a mind-blowing idea. And we even touched on that whole Nibiru thing, the planet that some folks think is going to come crashing into Earth.
Yeah, that's a bit of a scary thought. But look, this episode isn't all just theories and speculation. We're also going to dive into some real archaeological discoveries.
Right, because sometimes the actual evidence is even wilder than the theories.
Exactly. And one of those discoveries that really gets people talking is Queen Pwabi's tomb. It was found way back in 1927, but it's still causing a stir today.
Yes, Queen Pwabi. Her tomb was in the ancient Sumerian city of Ur. It's like a time capsule, filled with artifacts and clues about how Sumerian royalty lived and, well, died.
Okay, so a royal tomb, that's cool and all, but what's the big deal about this Queen Pwabi?
Well, it's her skull that's got everyone buzzing. It's way bigger than your average human skull, like a noticeably larger.
Right, a giant skull. Okay, now I'm really intrigued. In the video, it doesn't hold back. They say the description of the queen was highly unusual. A head that was huge. She was not a normal human. She may not have been full-on Anunnaki. She could have been a hybrid. A hybrid, like part human, part alien.
That's what they're suggesting. But, we have to be careful here.
Yeah, I know. Extraordinary claims and all that.
Right. Just because someone has a slightly larger skull, it doesn't automatically mean they're part alien.
I mean, people come in all shapes and sizes, right?
Exactly. There's natural variation in human skull size, both in ancient times and today. It's jumping the gun to say that Queen Pwabi's skull is proof of extraterrestrial heritage.
Okay, so maybe the giant skull isn't a slam dunk for the alien theory, but then the video zooms out. They show all these images from different cultures around the world.
Oh, yeah, they love to do that, show all these connections.
And it's all these winged beings coming down from the sky, angels, the feathered serpents of Central America, the star people of the Anasazi. It's like a global phenomenon.
It is pretty amazing. You've got all these diverse cultures separated by time and distance, and yet they all have these stories of beings coming down from the heavens.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, are we all just hardwired to believe in these sky beings? Or could it be that, maybe there's some truth to these ancient stories?
That's the big question, isn't it? Are we looking at different cultural interpretations of the same phenomenon? Or are these entirely separate beliefs that just happen to emerge independently?
It's a real head-scratcher. And speaking of ancient texts, there's also this story of the Nephilim in the Bible.
Ah, yes, the Nephilim. Those guys are pretty interesting.
They're these, like, giants, right? The offspring of sons of God and daughters of men. Pretty intense stuff.
Intense is one word for it. And naturally, some people think this could be a reference to the Anunnaki, maybe they were the sons of God who came down and, well, mingled with the human ladies.
Okay, now that's a whole other level of alien intervention. But the video keeps going. They show all these ancient carvings and cylinder seals depicting the Anunnaki.
They do love those visuals.
And they say the Anunnaki, we can also see them on different carvings or in cylinder seals where they are depicted as having wings sometimes. They have faces like birds with beaks, but they're also very human-like giant beings with muscular bodies wearing thick things that look like wristwatches. I know we talked about the wristwatches before, but it's still pretty trippy, right?
It definitely sticks in your mind. But remember, ancient art, it wasn't always meant to be taken literally. It's often symbolic.
So you're saying maybe the wristwatches were more like a representation of advanced technology, not actual Timex watches.
Exactly. Think about it. The ancient Egyptians, they depicted their gods with animal heads. They weren't literally half human, half animal. It was a way of showing their divine power, their connection to nature,
Okay, that makes sense. But let's shift gears for a second. Let's talk about another big event that pops up in both Sumerian and biblical texts. The Great Flood.
Oh, yeah, the flood. That's a classic. And it's not just those two cultures either. Flood myths, they're everywhere.
It's like a global obsession with giant floods wiping out humanity.
It's true. And in the video, they really focus on the Sumerian version, where the god Enlil gets angry with humans and decides to send this massive flood to basically wipe the slate clean.
It's interesting, though, isn't it? Like, in both the Sumerian and biblical accounts, the flood isn't just a natural disaster. It's like a punishment from a higher power.
It's a very deliberate act. And it makes you wonder, are these flood myths based on a real historical event? Or are they more like metaphors for the challenges humans face? The cycles of destruction and renewal.
It's a question that's been debated for centuries. And the video, they even go so far as to suggest that maybe, just maybe, the Anunnaki were the ones who engineered the flood. Like maybe they wanted to start over with humanity and thought, hey, let's just hit the reset button with a giant wave.
It's certainly a dramatic theory, but we also have to remember, there's scientific evidence for natural floods throughout history. Climate change, earthquakes, all sorts of things can cause massive floods. We don't necessarily need to bring aliens into the equation.
Right. We can't forget about good old-fashioned Mother Nature. But speaking of aliens, let's circle back to that Mars connection. If the Anunnaki used Mars as a pit stop on their way to Earth, shouldn't we be able to find some trace of them there?
That's what a lot of people are hoping for. Some think that the Curiosity rover, the one that's been cruising around Mars since 2012, might stumble upon some evidence of Anunnaki activity.
Yeah, but so far it's just been sending back pictures of rocks and dust, right? No alien cities or anything.
Nothing quite that exciting, but hey, Mars is a big place. There's still a lot left to explore.
Okay, so maybe we're not going to find any alien welcome mats on Mars anytime soon. But the episode, it ends on this cliffhanger, right? They hint that the Anunnaki might not be just ancient history. They might be coming back.
Dun, dun, dun. That's right. Remember Sitchin's theory about Nibiru and its 3,600-year orbit? Well, some people believe that its return is, shall we say, imminent, and with it, the return of the Anunnaki.
Okay, now that's a twist I didn't see coming. Ancient alien gods coming back to Earth. What are we going to do? Should we start building bunkers? Learning Sumerian?
Well, hold your horses. Before we start panicking or celebrating, depending on how you feel about alien overlords, let's dive into some more of the evidence this video presents. Because in part 3, things get really wild. We're going on a global tour of artifacts and relics that some believe point to, you guessed it, ancient alien contact. Get ready for some golden hats, vanishing islands, and maybe even a few surprises along the way.
Welcome back, deep divers. I am so ready for the grand finale of our Anunnaki adventure.
We've definitely gone deep down the rabbit hole with this one.
Sumerian texts, flood myths, a giant skull, even a possible Mars connection. What else could this video possibly throw at us?
Well, get ready, because this episode takes us on a global treasure hunt. We're talking fascinating relics from all over the world, stuff that some people believe points to, you guessed it, ancient alien contact.
A global treasure hunt. All right, I'm in. Let's go. So where are we headed first on this epic quest for alien artifacts?
Well, buckle up, because our first stop is Europe and the treasure. Golden hats.
Golden hats. Wait, like those party hats you wear on New Year's Eve.
Not quite. These are cone-shaped hats made of pure gold. They've been found in different spots across Europe, and they're decorated with all these sun and moon symbols. Pretty fancy headwear.
Okay, I can see how golden hats would be fit for a king or, really stylish alien. But what's the ancient astronaut theory connection here?
Well, the video claims that these golden hats weren't just for fashion. They were actually used to, get this, amplify communication with extraterrestrial beings.
Hold on, they're saying these hats were like ancient alien antennas.
Basically. They even say that the wearing of a golden hat, especially in a conical shape, would tend to amplify the signal that you were getting from on high.
Interesting idea. But I don't know, something about that seems a little, far-fetched.
Yeah, most scientists would agree with you there. There's no real evidence that gold can boost signals like that. It's a cool theory, but probably not much more than that.
Okay, so maybe scratch the golden hats off our list of alien gadgets. But what about this copper scroll they keep talking about? It was found in the same caves as the Dead Sea Scrolls, right? But it's not your typical scroll.
Right. The copper scroll is kind of the black sheep of the Dead Sea Scrolls collection. Instead of being written on parchment or papyrus, this one is hammered out of, copper. A whole scroll made of metal.
Wow, that's pretty unique. So what's written on this copper scroll?
That's the thing. It's not your typical religious text or historical account. The copper scroll is basically, wait for it, a treasure map.
No way. A treasure map. All right, now we're talking. What kind of treasure are we talking about here? Gold, jewels, the lost Ark of the Covenant.
That's the mystery. The scroll lists all these locations, like 64 of them, mostly in and around Jerusalem, where these treasures are supposedly hidden, but it doesn't say what the treasures are.
That's a bit of a tease. So we got a treasure map, but no clue what X marks the spot. Classic.
But the video, they have to have some theories, right?
Oh, they definitely do. They suggest that these metallic books, like the Copper Scroll, and even those rumored golden plates from the Mormon Church, could be part of some, get this, extraterrestrial library.
Whoa, an alien library. Now that's something I'd love to browse. Imagine the knowledge you could find in there.
It's a fun thought, but until we actually decipher the Copper Scroll or find those golden plates, we're just speculating.
Okay, so maybe we're not cracking the alien codes today, but the episode, it takes a bit of a turn here. They start talking about objects with, mystical powers. Ah, yes, the relics. They bring up the bones of saints, the tooth of Buddha, even pieces of the true cross. Pretty powerful stuff.
It's like the ultimate celebrity memorabilia. But instead of autographs, we're talking about objects that people believe can heal the sick or, grant miracles.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Humans have always had this need to connect with something beyond ourselves. And these relics, they represent that desire, that yearning for the supernatural, the divine.
But of course, the video, they can't leave it at that, can they? They have to throw in the alien angle.
Of course. They suggest that maybe, just maybe, these relics contain some kind of divine energy or even fragments of alien technology. They even say that we might be able to, get this, clone dead saints using DNA from their relics.
Hold on. Clone saints. Now, that's an idea for a sci-fi movie.
Right. But let's be real. Cloning technology is still in its early stages. And even if we could clone a saint, there's some pretty big ethical questions we'd have to deal with first.
Okay, so maybe hold off on the saint cloning for now. But speaking of fascinating objects, the episode takes us to Ireland, home of the famous Blarney Stone. You know, the one you kiss for good luck.
Yes, the Blarney Stone. Millions of people have made the trek to Blarney Castle to hang upside down and kiss that stone, all in the hopes of getting the gift of gab.
I've always wanted to do that. It's on my bucket list. But I'm guessing the ancient astronaut theory has a different take on the Blarney Stone's power, right?
They do. They claim that maybe, just maybe, the stone was impregnated with some kind of extraterrestrial technology that gives you those smooth-talking skills. Basically, they're saying it's not just a tradition, it's an alien gadget.
So instead of kissing a magical stone, I'd be smooching some alien tech. Not sure how I feel about that.
Well, most people would agree that the Blarney Stone's fame probably has more to do with folklore and tradition than alien intervention.
Yeah, there's something about those old traditions, those stories that get passed down through generations that really captures the imagination, doesn't it?
It does. And speaking of Irish traditions, the episode also talks about the Lia Fáil, the Stone of Destiny. This stone is super important in Irish mythology.
The Stone of Destiny, huh? Sounds pretty epic. What's so special about this stone?
Legend has it that it was brought to Ireland by these mystical beings called the Tuatha De Danann. They were known for their magic and their advanced knowledge. And the stone, it's said to roar in approval when touched by the rightful king of Ireland.
Whoa, a roaring stone. That's pretty cool. But knowing this video, they've probably got some alien explanation for that too, right?
You know it. They suggest that the Lia Fáil could be some kind of engineered device, maybe even created by the Tuatha De Danann or, aliens, to test the worthiness of potential leaders, like an ancient lie detector test for kings.
Wow, an alien lie detector. Now, that's something I'd love to see in action. But, okay, let's be real. Probably just a really cool stone with a really cool legend attached to it, right?
Probably. But hey, a little mystery keeps things interesting.
All right, so we've got golden hats, a copper treasure map, mystical relics, and magical stones. What else could they possibly have up their sleeve?
Well, hold on to your hats, because this is where things get really weird. We're talking vanishing islands.
Vanishing islands. Okay, now you're just messing with me.
Nope, totally serious. They bring up the case of Sandy Island, this island that was on maps for centuries, and then poof, it just vanished.
Wait, seriously, an island just disappeared. How is that even possible?
Well, the official explanation is that it was just a cartographical error, a mistake on the maps. But of course, some people believe there's a more mysterious explanation.
The aliens? What else?
Bingo. They suggest that maybe Sandy Island was actually a secret alien base that was cloaked from our view. And then when they needed to, they just, decloaked it and took off.
Whoa, a cloaked alien base. That's next level. They also mentioned this other island, High Brazil, off the coast of Ireland. It's supposed to only appear once every 7 years, like the ultimate exclusive vacation spot.
High Brazil is this legendary island paradise. It's like the Atlantis of the Celtic world. Lots of stories and legends about it.
But I'm guessing in the ancient astronaut theory world, it's not just a mythical island, it's another alien hideout, right?
You got it. They're saying these vanishing islands could be elaborate alien bases that can appear and disappear at will. Pretty cool, right?
It's definitely a mind-blowing idea, but okay, let's be honest. We've heard a lot of wild theories in this deep dive. Do you actually buy into any of this ancient astronaut stuff?
It's not really about believing or disbelieving. It's about keeping an open mind, considering different perspectives, and most importantly, asking questions.
I like that, because at the end of the day, that's what this is all about, right?
Yeah.
Exploring these mysteries, challenging our assumptions, and maybe, just maybe, uncovering something truly amazing.
Exactly. We've traveled from ancient Sumeria to the farthest reaches of space, explored myths and legends, and encountered some truly bizarre artifacts. And who knows what mysteries are still out there waiting to be discovered.
That's what I love about these deep dives. It's all about the journey, the exploration, and the possibility that maybe, just maybe, there's more to our world than meets the eye. So to all our listeners out there, keep those minds open, those imaginations fired up, and never stop questioning the universe around us. Who knows what incredible discoveries are just around the corner?
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have a ball. I'm sweet like a buttercup. You're a Barbie doll.